Poole backing up, being guarded by Merrill. Shot clock at 5. Jordan Poole, step back. Here's a 3 by Jordan, off, rebounded by Jarrett. Poole 0 for 4 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3.
In just less than 2 seasons, Jordan Poole has literally become unrecognizable to those who witnessed the kind of player he was on the Warriors in that 2022 championship run. I remember thinking, along with many others, that the Warriors had found like a mini Splash Brother that could be a piece that would keep them in playoff contention, and even after he was traded, I thought he was good enough to at least keep any team competitive or fun to watch. Yet, Jordan Poole has been anything but that on what is one of the worst teams in the league. This video is not an attempt to kick Poole while he's down, and I do actually offer a different perspective on what might be Poole's problem towards the end of the video, but the numbers speak for themselves and Jordan Poole has not been good. Since joining the Wizards, Poole's stats have regressed month after month, especially scoring wise, which is a big chunk of what he was brought in to do. In February, Poole started out the month shooting under 30% from the field and from 3 in the first 7 games. But there's one stat that exposes just how rough Poole's struggles have been this season, and that's the value over replacement player, or the VORP stat. The stat calculates a box score estimate of the points per game that a player scores over their replacement, so like their backup or any other player on the bench. If you want to learn the specifics of the stat, I'll link some stuff in the description explaining it in greater detail, but essentially, all you need to know is that the VORP measures how valuable a player is to their team, and a player with the highest VORP in the league at the end of the season is, statistically speaking, the most valuable player. Jokic, for example, has dominated the league in advanced stats for MVP ratings in the past 4 seasons, and one reason we know that is because he has led the league in VORP for the last 4 years. So players who rank the highest with this stat tend to lead MVP discussions because they provide the most value to their teams, while those on the lower end of this stat provide the least value to their teams. Well, with a current VORP of negative 1.9, Jordan Poole is on pace to finish the season with a negative 2.3 VORP, which would be the second worst in NBA history. So based on this stat, whatever the opposite of MVP is, that's what Jordan Poole is projected to be by the end of the season for the Wizards. In a way, it's not too shocking that he ranks so low in the VORP stat this season, given that he, along with some teammates, have been hovering among the bottom 5 in plus minus, which is another stat that's very telling of a player's impact on the court. But with the 9-45 record, the Wizards haven't been winning games, so it's expected that a key player like Poole would rank low in stats like this. What's shocking, however, is how historically bad he's been. And the craziest part about all this is that these struggles came in a season when the expectations were the highest they've ever been for Jordan Poole. Following that Chris Paul trade, many were comparing Poole's situation to that of James Harden in 2012 when he was sent from OKC to the Rockets. With the kind of scoring seasons and stretches he was able to put on playing with Steph and Clay, many thought that sending him to the Wizards was going to inflate his scoring by a lot more. Just before the season, he was viewed by many fans and even NBA greats as potentially an all-star, the most improved player, and perhaps even the NBA's leader in points per game.
Jordan Poole is the new James Harden. You remember when James Harden left OKC and he got to goddamn Houston and got right at it?
Absolutely.
Man, this the Jordan Poole show. So I look for Jordan Poole to be top 5 in scoring this year. And if he don't shoot more than 25 balls, I'll be shocked.
Absolutely.
And if he don't have not one but a couple 60 balls this year, I will be shocked.
Absolutely.
But now, a lot of those same people who thought that this was going to be Jordan Poole's chance to take that leap have been left in utter disappointment. And obviously, this has angered many fans and OGs of the game like Kevin Garnett, who initially had nothing but praise for Poole before the season.
Jordan Poole, highly disappointed in Jordan Poole. He done gave me some like sprinkles of but champ, you ain't acting like you flexing champ shit, but you ain't bringing champ environment in here.
Right.
You learned this in Golden State. They got your ass out there because you go and fall in line, bro. That's what I'm saying. Niggas like this don't belong in our league, bro.
Damn, not the league.
He does not belong in the league he's the head of a team, P.
From how I see it, the way Jordan Poole's season has gone compared to how many thought that it would actually go poses a bigger threat to his NBA future than many think. If you look at 3 of the top 10 guards in the league right now in SGA, Tyrese Halliburton, and Jalen Brunson, one thing that these three guys all have in common is that much like Jordan Poole, when they first came into the league, they were role players who only developed into all-star caliber players after they were traded or signed to a team that allowed them to be a number one option. You can make the argument that if SGA had stayed on the Clippers, he most likely would have never become the player he is today, especially if the Clippers had gone through with that Kawhi trade. Similarly, you can argue that Tyrese would have never developed into the two-time All-Star and the offensive machine he now is if the Sabonis trade had never happened. The same can be said for Brunson, who's fully tapping into his potential as an all-star because he doesn't have to take a backseat to Luka. But my point is that getting the keys to a franchise in the NBA is something that only a handful of players ever get to experience in the league, and it's the reason why where you end up in the draft can change the trajectory of your whole career. So players who find themselves in a position to lead a team after being in other roles can really use that as an opportunity to change their futures in the league and the direction of their whole careers. And when you think about it, they should consider themselves fortunate to have that chance, especially for a player like Poole, who grinded his way from the end of the bench and from the G League back when people were questioning whether he's really even fit for the NBA. To come from that and to end up in a position where you have the ultimate green light is the dream for many players, but unlike his peers who took the challenge head on, Poole just hasn't been able to capitalize on the moment at all. He's squandering a massive opportunity, and that's the big question surrounding Poole at the moment.
Why are you mentally thinking that this ain't your team? Mentally, like whatever you went to Golden State with, it should have doubled here.
We obviously don't have a clear answer to why Jordan Poole has not been able to step up the way he's expected to this season, but there are a few things that are glaring about this whole situation. Number one is that even with all the skill we know that he has, Jordan Poole just wasn't ready to be a leader of the team. When he was with the Warriors, we knew about his talent and there's a lot of stories about his work ethic, but leadership was never really mentioned as one of his strong qualities. Part of the reason is because he was in a team with so many veteran leaders that were tested and approved like Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Iguodala, but Poole had shown signs of an unprofessional attitude at times even when he was still with the Warriors. I think about that one time when Curry had to confront him on the spot about not wanting to listen to Draymond, and all those times that he seemed to play out of the system by taking ill-advised shots, which was a source of frustration for his teammates and the coaches. It's exactly what we're seeing on the Wizards with all the lowlights on the court that I'm sure you've seen and some of the fits on the sidelines, so it's really nothing new, but the difference is that there's no accountability from any vets, or at least a controlled environment like there was in Golden State. And of course, there's also something to be said about the fact that when he was on the Warriors, he wasn't the number one option, and so opposing defenses weren't as locked in on him as they are now. But with the way Jordan Poole seems to be squandering this opportunity, you can't help but wonder what it's going to do to his credibility going forward. Best believe that NBA GMs around the league have been watching this situation unfold and watching things like how Poole manages on-court leadership responsibilities and even how he responded to a big payday. The 4-year, $140 million contract extension he signed in 2022 indicated his market value at the time, and it was also a sign of trust from the Warriors in the kind of player that he would become. But now, with the way that signing aged, it looks like the next time that Poole will have an opportunity to sign a new contract, the value won't be anything near what it is now. And in regards to his role in the team, I think it's safe to say that it's going to change drastically, and it's going to be hard for any front office to trust him with the keys to their franchise again.
The rest of your career, you're going to come off the bench. All right, so enjoy the rest as a starter. Just enjoy the rest of this year as a starter, because moving forward, they're going to bring you off the bench. You have lost all notion as a starting shooting guard, point guard in this NBA. How does he avoid?
Yeah, y'all can't.
You've been in the man with the Wizards. You have a unique situation. You can't unring a bell.
I want to end off this video by just saying that we also need to acknowledge how serious this Jordan Poole situation might be. One thing that's clear is that Jordan Poole is not who he was in Golden State, and it's not just in terms of play.
Like, you don't have that big of a decline, man. Yeah. Like that big of a fall off of coming off the bench to start. He just.
What's their record?
And it looked bad, though.
6-29.
Yo, it looked bad. That, like the numbers, so if you watch it,
it looked bad.
It looked bad.
It looked bad.
And now you put the number to it, it's like, ugh.
It's worse than that.
Do we feel like if that Draymond video never got out, it'd be a different situation?
From all the clips of him with the towel on his head, away from the team, disengaged, and even some of what we're calling a bad attitude, I think that some of those things might be signs of a guy who's struggling mentally. That Draymond incident did not just ruin the chemistry of the team and any hopes they had of making another championship run, but it also put a huge stain on Poole's name and his reputation in the league. And if you think about it, for the last 2 years, no NBA player has been the butt of jokes and memes like Jordan Poole. From getting punched and having it seen all around the world, to the videos of Steph and Steve Kerr getting frustrated with him, and to him essentially being scapegoated for how the season ended with the Warriors last season. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but when you look at it, he was publicly humiliated by his teammate, and for the most part, the team publicly treated him like he was the problem more times than not. And then they shipped him off to one of the worst teams in the league, and then they extended Draymond, basically saying that they were choosing Draymond over him. For anybody, that, along with who knows what else he's going through, is enough to put you in a tough place mentally. And we've seen a lot of players come out and talk about the mental health struggles that come with being in the NBA. And although I'm all for mental toughness and pushing through adversity, I feel like it's something to think about when it comes to Jordan Poole. But that's just my take. I would like to hear if you guys agree or disagree with it, so drop down a comment. But that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, peace.